With Dragon Ball Super being remade, one of the first things that naturally comes into question is how God Ki is going to be handled this time around. When it was first introduced during Battle of Gods, God Ki was positioned as a major turning point for the franchise. It represented a new ceiling, a new type of power, and a clear separation between the mortals and the gods. The idea itself was strong, and on a conceptual level, it fit perfectly with the direction Dragon Ball was heading. Where things became shaky was in how that concept was maintained over time. In the original run of Super, God Ki never felt settled into a consistent set of rules. Sometimes it was treated as something mortals couldn't sense, and other times it behaved most identically to regular Ki. Visually, the distinction wasn't always clear, and narratively, the importance of God Ki slowly faded from transformations and techniques that were introduced. That inconsistency is one of the few reasons power scaling and form discussions became so messy later on. A project like Dragon Ball Super Beerus creates an opportunity to tighten that foundation. If the early arcs are being reconstructed, then God Ki can be reintroduced with clear visual language, more consistent behavior, and a stronger narrative weight. Small changes in how scenes are framed, how characters react to divine pressure, or how fights unfold could go a long way in making God Ki feel distinct again without rewriting the story. How God Ki is handled here matters far beyond Battle of Gods. It influences how Super Saiyan Blue is perceived, how techniques like Ultra Instinct feel earned, and how mortal characters interact with gods and angels going forward. If the remake takes the time to establish those runs cleanly at the beginning, a lot of Super's confusion could quietly resolve itself. Super Saiyan Blue, often abbreviated as SSB, is the short term for Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. This transformation is essentially a Super Saiyan form infused with God Ki, the divine energy wielded exclusively by deities and other celestial beings within the Dragon Ball universe. Unlike regular Ki, God Ki requires precise control. A fighter must be able to utilize every ounce of their energy with absolute efficiency, ensuring that no Ki is wasted or inadvertently expelled from their body. This mastery allows the user to deploy their power at full potential while avoiding the uncontrollable leaks that often occur with conventional Ki. In essence, Super Saiyan Blue embodies perfect Ki management by channeling divine energy internally rather than projecting it outwards. The fighter maximizes strength, speed, and durability without unnecessary energy dissipation. This internalized control is what makes God Ki fundamentally different from regular Ki. It cannot be sensed in the traditional sense as it is contained entirely within the body. What others can perceive is not the Ki itself, but the intense pressure and aura radiating from the user. Goku and Vegeta first achieved Super Saiyan Blue after mastering precise Ki control during the Resurrection F saga of Dragon Ball Super. Their training focused on increasing their power without leaking any Ki outside their bodies. Previously, a fighter's increase in strength often relied on releasing Ki outward, amplifying physical capabilities and combat potential through external energy projection. However, the path to Super Saiyan Blue is the opposite. The Saiyans learn to compress and refine their Ki internally, allowing them to significantly boost their strength without broadcasting their power. This type of training emphasizes perfected Ki efficiency, amplifying one's abilities while maintaining control over energy flow. Episodes in Dragon Ball Super illustrate Goku and Vegeta sensing and feeling the presence of divine Ki within themselves for the first time, recognizing that his power could be fully harnessed without ever leaving the body. The principle behind Super Saiyan Blue is therefore the art of containment and maximization. By suppressing Ki internally rather than projecting it outward, the Saiyans achieve a level of power and precision unobtainable through regular traditional Ki usage. This is also why God Ki is inherently undetectable unless one can sense divine energy, specifically as the energy remains fully internalized rather than spilling outward. In the world of Dragon Ball, Ki is the fundamental energy that powers every living being. Every individual possesses Ki, which constantly radiates outward from their body. Even ordinary humans have Ki, though they typically cannot control it. As a result, their Ki leaks naturally into the environment, forming the basis of their base strength, which is measured by devices such as Scouter. For example, in Dragon Ball Z, Raditz was able to detect the power level of a simple farmer because the farmer's Ki was unconsciously radiating into the surrounding. This principle applies to all living beings, as the battle power of a person is intrinsically tied to the strength and intensity of the Ki they possess. A low Ki level corresponds to lower battle power, while greater Ki enables higher physical potential. Martial artists like Goku and other Earth fighters learn to harness and control their Ki, allowing them to fight adversaries far beyond the capability of normal humans. By controlling Ki, a fighter can amplify their physical abilities, strength, speed, and endurance beyond natural limit. This process of channeling and concentrating Ki is called powering up. When a fighter powers up, they gather Ki internally and enhance their battle power, effectively raising their physical capabilities. The higher their Ki, the faster and stronger their attacks become, giving them a significant advantage in combat. In essence, powering up functions like continuous additions in mathematics. The more Ki accumulated, the greater the physical output, potentially in an unlimited manner. However, the true limitation of powering up does not lie in the Ki itself, but in the body's ability to contain it. A weaker body cannot tolerate the strain of accumulating high levels of Ki. As the ki intensifies, it becomes increasingly taxing to maintain, much like lifting extreme heavy weights at the gym. If the body reaches its limit, the fighter cannot push further, preventing them from reaching their full potential. Furthermore, stamina is a critical factor in sustaining elevated power levels. Even if a fighter can generate immense ki, maintaining that power requires energy. If the fighter becomes exhausted, their ki output drops, reducing their battle power. Consequently, the stronger a fighter's body and greater their stamina, the more ki they can safely accumulate and maintain, resulting in a higher sustainable power level. To illustrate, consider it like lifting weights. The heavier the weight, the more fatigue sets in, but the greater the potential strength gain. In the same way, increasing ki enhances a fighter's physical capabilities, but it also consumes stamina. A fighter must carefully manage this balance to maintain their heightened battle power during combat. In summary, powering up is a combination of ki control, physical strength, stamina, and management. The more a fighter can refine and sustain their ki internally, the higher their battle power becomes, enabling them to perform feats far beyond ordinary limits. While powering up provides a fighter with a significant advantage in battle, it comes with inherent drawbacks. The main limitation is that the accumulation ki takes time, and during this process, a fighter is vulnerable. Enemies can exploit this moment of weakness, attacking while the fighter is still gathering their energy. This is why mastering instantaneous ki control is crucial. A skilled warrior must be able to raise their ki as quickly and efficiently as the situation demands. Failure to do so, especially during critical moments, can result in devastating consequences. Even the strongest fighter's body remains physically fragile without the protective reinforcement of ki, leaving them susceptible to knockout or even death. In the original Dragon Ball Z, scouters were used numerically to measure a fighter's battle power, providing a precise way to gauge the strength of opponents by detecting the ki radiating from their bodies. These devices allow combatants to understand the threat level they faced before engaging. The disparity in physical strength between species highlights the importance of ki. For instance, alien warriors like Nappa possess overwhelming natural strength compared to humans. While an ordinary human might have a power level of just 5, Nappa's power level exceeds 4,000. Making direct physical confrontation virtually impossible. A human punch against such a being would be negligible, essentially a mere tickle. Harnessing ki, however, bridges this gap, allowing fighters to amplify their physical capabilities to a level where they can at least stand a chance against these extraordinarily powerful beings. To mitigate the time disadvantage of gathering ki, the Dragon Ball universe introduces multipliers. These techniques allow a fighter to instantly boost their power according to their current base level, eliminating the need for lengthy accumulation. The earliest and most iconic example of this is the Kaioken technique, introduced during the Saiyan saga. The Kaioken acts as a multiplier, temporarily enhancing Goku's strength and speed, allowing him to compete with opponents whose natural power far surpasses his own. This was essentially crucial against enemies with monstrous physical attributes and immense power that a normal human or even a trained Earthling could not match. However, this power comes at a steep cost. The greater the multiplier, the more intense the strain on the user's body. Excessive use can severely damage the fighter physically, making the Kaioken both a powerful tool and a dangerous risk. It is a balancing act, using just enough multiplier to bridge the gap of power without overwhelming one's own body. In essence, the combination of ki harnessing, power accumulation, and multipliers like Kaioken allow fighters to overcome enormous disparities in strength, giving the ability to compete with otherwise insurmountable opponents. Typically, a fighter's physical limits define how much they can raise their power level through conventional means like powering up. However, the Kaioken technique bypasses these natural limits, granting an enormous surge in strength that the body would not ordinarily be able to handle. This sudden release of ki comes at a severe cost. The multiplier essentially forces the body to output energy it isn't designed to withstand, causing extreme physical strain. A useful analogy is to imagine lighting a candle with too much fire too quickly, causing it to melt and deform. Similarly, the higher the Kaioken multiplier, the greater the damage inflicted on the user's body. Despite Goku's enhanced Saiyan physiology, even he could only push the technique up to Kaioken times 20, suggesting this is roughly the maximum the body can tolerate without sustaining catastrophic injury. The concept of multiplying power levels introduced by the Kaioken is later expanded upon by the Super Saiyan transformations in Dragon Ball Z. These forms act as an inherent multiplier of a user's base power, with high Super Saiyan forms producing exponentially greater boosts. Unlike the Kaioken, which risks destroying the body, Super Saiyan transformations do not physically harm the user. Instead, they consume enormous amounts of stamina, placing strain on the body without causing direct physical damage. This is one reason why Goku abandoned the Kaioken once he had access to Super Saiyan forms. Why risk bodily destruction when there's a safer, more powerful alternative that only drains stamina? The logic of Super Saiyan transformations mirrors that of powering up, with one key difference. While powering up is addictive, Super Saiyan forms multiply the fighter's power. In both cases, the user's physical strength and stamina set the ultimate limit. A weaker body cannot reach the higher forms or sustain them for long, just as a fighter with insufficient stamina cannot maintain extreme levels of powered up ki. Because of this, Goku continuously trained his body to increase both physical strength and stamina, preparing himself to handle the intense energy drain of each successive Super Saiyan form. His extraordinary training allowed him to combine the addictive concept of powering up with the multiplicative boost of transformation, creating a hybrid method to elevate his ki and push his power level beyond the limits of either technique alone. In the Dragon Ball universe, this synergistic approach is known as a hybrid technique. represented in the pinnacle of ki mastery, physical conditioning, and strategic power amplification. The hybrid technique in Dragon Ball is a method of exponentially increasing a fighter's power by first multiplying their base power level through a transformation, such as a Super Saiyan form, then powering up further, adding additional strength on top of the already amplified base. This dual approach not only enhances the fighter's raw power, but also significantly boosts their physical capabilities, including speed, strength, durability, and senses. However, this method is incredibly taxing on the user. Combining the physical strain of both transformation and powering up places extreme stress on the body, and only fighters with exceptional stamina like Goku or Vegeta can endure such a thing. The primary drawback of this hybrid approach is that it consumes both immense stamina and ki, making it a high-risk, high-reward strategy. When executing the hybrid technique, the fighter's ki often erupts violently outside the body, as seen in visual indicators such as floating debris, cracking energy, and intense electrical discharges. This massive ki outflow produces collateral effects on the environment, including earthquakes, tidal waves, and other disturbances. The continuous outward radiation of ki creates enormous energy wastage and allows anyone capable of sensing power level to detect that fighter's overwhelming energy. While this aggressive ki output dramatically increases the fighter's power, it comes at the cost of rapid physical exhaustion. The body becomes drained from the unnecessary energy loss, and if the fighter cannot compensate, they may quickly revert to their base form, leaving them highly vulnerable. It's also important to note that other uses of ki, such as firing energy blasts, performing flight techniques, or using special techniques like the Mafuba, further contribute to ki depletion and energy loss. This explains why Dragon Ball characters often require enormously high power levels, sometimes in the millions or even hundreds of millions, just to perform such feats and sustain elevated states. In essence, both powering up and transforming rely on projecting ki outward to increase strength and elevate power levels. The greater the ki output, the greater the resulting power. Yet, this advantage is always balanced by draining effect on stamina and energy. Intense ki radiation, like that seen in Super Saiyan 3, burns energy at such a rate that maintaining the transformation becomes nearly impossible. Even if the fighter attempts to assess the form again or further power up, fatigue and exhaustion prevent them from sustaining the enhanced state, making careful management of ki and stamina critical to surviving prolonged battles. Goku's struggle to transform again into Super Saiyan 3 when already drained and exhausted, as seen in his battle with Kid Buu, highlights the limitations of traditional ki usage in Dragon Ball. Once a fighter has overextended their body's stamina and energy, attempting to power up or further transform again can fail entirely, leaving them vulnerable despite their previous strength. All of these concepts of bursting ki outward to increase power underwent a major evolution with the introduction of God Ki in Dragon Ball Super. Unlike traditional ki, where the user radiates energy externally to amplify their power, often causing environmental destruction and stamina depletion, God Ki works differently. Instead of projecting the ki outward, it is suppressed and contained within the body, creating intense internal pressure that increases the fighter's strength without the inefficiency and waste of external ki bursts. While God Ki is primarily contained, in extreme accumulation, such as in Super Saiyan Blue, can still produce noticeable effects on the environment. This includes powerful gusts of wind and a crushing pressure that can damage nearby objects, though these effects are far more controlled compared to the chaotic destruction caused by traditional ki bursts. The use of God Ki is far superior to conventional ki for raising power levels because it prevents energy leakage and allows for precise ki control over what's actually used. By suppressing their energy internally, fighters can accurately regulate the amount of power they deploy using only what is necessary for the situation. This not only avoids unnecessary ki wastage, but also provides a more efficient and sustainable boost in power compared to external ki bursts. Under Which's training, both Goku and Vegeta master the art of heightening their power without leaking ki outside their bodies, a fundamental shift from traditional approach of externalizing energy to gain strength. This mastery gave rise to a new tier of power, exceeding what was possible in the old DBZ system of powering up outwards via ki outbursts. This new pinnacle of controlled internalized energy manifested as Super Saiyan Blue. While Super Saiyan Blue grants an immense power increase that surpasses the multipliers of previous Super Saiyan forms, it comes at a significant cost. Maintaining this form requires tremendous physical and mental stamina, as the fighter must continually control the immense internal energy to remain in the state. The stamina drain in this form is likely greater than that of Super Saiyan 3, due to the combined strain of mastering precise energy control and the sheer intensity of the power. Nevertheless, the trade-off is overwhelmingly favorable. The massive surge in strength, speed, durability, and combat effectiveness provided by Super Saiyan Blue more than justifies the exhausting toll it takes on the user, making one of the most powerful and efficient transformations in the Dragon Ball universe. Consider the immense power difference between Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan God, and Super Saiyan Blue. Super Saiyan 3 could not even contend with Beerus and was easily overwhelmed with a single gesture, while Super Saiyan God was able to operate on a comparable level, trading blows with the God of Destruction, something Super Saiyan 3 could never achieve. Building on this, Super Saiyan Blue surpasses Super Saiyan God in raw power, which makes it evident that it is a tremendous leap from Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan Blue. Even Goku himself acknowledged that Super Saiyan God operates on an entirely different tier of strength compared to Super Saiyan 3. Determining the exact gap between Super Saiyan God and Blue is more difficult, but we can use Jiren as a reference point. In the Tournament of Power, during Goku's Round 1 battle against Jiren, Super Saiyan God Goku's full power punches were effortlessly blocked by Jiren, just using a simple finger. To accurately force Jiren to exert effort and respond, Goku had to transform into Super Saiyan Blue, demonstrating the significant increase in power and impact between the two god forms. While Super Saiyan Blue does not employ explicit multipliers like the traditional Super Saiyan transformations, the difference in Jiren's reaction suggests a more than 2 to 3-fold increase in effectiveness and raw strength between God and Blue. Beyond scaling arguments, the true strength of Super Saiyan Blue lies in its unmatched ki control. Unlike the previous form, Super Saiyan Blue allows Goku and Vegeta to manipulate their energy with incredible precision. They can gradually raise or lower their power level to match the situation perfectly, from levels barely detectable to far levels exceeding Super Saiyan 3. This analogous control enables them to avoid unnecessary collateral damage, preserve stamina, and maintain full command over their energy output. For instance, in Super Saiyan Blue, Goku can start a Kamehameha at a very weak level, essentially harmless to a bystander like Krillin, and gradually increase his power until it overwhelms a stronger opponent. Conversely, he can unleash a full charge Kamehameha capable of rivaling attacks from characters of extreme power such as Potara Feud Merge Zamasu. This precise control makes Super Saiyan Blue far more efficient than Super Saiyan 3. The fighter can adapt their power dramatically within a battle using the energy necessary for the moment without wasting ki. This flexibility, combined with the immense battle strength of the form, cements Super Saiyan Blue as a transformation that is not only more powerful but also far more versatile than any other previous Saiyan form. The concept behind Super Saiyan Blue differs fundamentally from the regular Super Saiyan transformations like 1, 2, and 3. Those classic forms function more like digital control, and once the transformation is activated, the power output is essentially fixed, determined by the multiplier applied to the user's base power. While techniques like the hybrid method allow Goku to further increase this multiplied power through additional powering up, the base output of the transformation itself remains rigid and unadjustable. This fixed output prevents Goku from fine-tuning his strength to precise levels. In other words, the traditional Saiyan forms allow for one-directional adjustment, increase in power without the ability to dial it down much. Any reduction in strength can only occur if the user reverts to their base form or suffers from energy depletion during the battle. Super Saiyan Blue, on the other hand, operates more like an analog control, granting perfect ki mastery. This enables Goku to both increase and decrease his power output with precision, adjusting his energy to match the needs of any situation. Unlike the older forms, Super Saiyan Blue allows him to utilize only the exact amount of power necessary, preventing unnecessary ki waste and avoiding stamina draining associated with overexerting. Understanding this distinction between analog Super Saiyan Blue and digital Super Saiyan forms, control is key to appreciating why Super Saiyan Blue provides such a massive advantage. If God Ki is reintroduced with intention in the Dragon Ball Super remake, the benefits go far beyond just cleaning up Battle of Gods. A clear portrayal would immediately restore the sense of hierarchy that Super sometimes struggled to maintain. God Ki was always meant to feel different, heavier, quieter, and more controlled. That reinforced distinction would make every divine transformation that follow feels earned instead of interchangeable. When godly power has weight, silence, and presence, it stops being just another color swap and starts feeling like a different plane of existence entirely. What makes this even more promising is the confirmation that the remake will be pulling directly from the manga for certain portions of the story, which is pretty huge. Toyotaro's manga consistently handles God Ki with more restraint and clarity than the anime ever did. Forms don't talk themselves up as much, they demonstrate superiority through dominance, efficiency, and control. That approach alone could dramatically improve how God Ki is perceived, especially in arcs like Goku Black, where divine energy, corrupted godhood, and mortal limits are central to the conflict. The Goku Black arc in particular stands to gain most from this. A remake that leads into the manga structure could finally make the contrast between mortal ki and God Ki feel very tangible. Black's strength wouldn't just come from being stronger, it would come from his mastery and provision of godly power. Goku and Vegeta's struggle wouldn't feel like inconsistency, but mortals pushing against something fundamentally beyond them. With better pacing and clearer visual language, God Ki could become the narrative backbone of that arc instead of background noise. And that's a key takeaway here. A Super remake doesn't need to invent new rules or rewrite the story to fix God Ki. It just needs to commit to showing it properly. By combining the manga's tighter execution with the anime spectacle, Dragon Ball Super Beerus and whatever it follows has a real opportunity to redefine how divine power is understood across the entire franchise. If they get God Ki right this time, it won't just improve one arc or another. It will retroactively strengthen everything that comes after it. And for a series built on power escalation, that kind of foundation might be the most important refinement of all.